Oh, I decided to come back because my game has entered territory which is pretty stable objectively. Um, One of the things with playing chess, whether it's over the board or online, is that you play so many games or so many different move orders and variations, and at some point it all becomes a blur. So
It's just weird to have these positions where, you've seen it or something similar so many times.
I think the position I have currently is the same position or very, very close to what I had against Fabiano in the candidates in Toronto in 2024. There might be a slight difference with the bishop being on A4 or C2. I'm not 100% sure on that. But in general, the position is very, very, very bland here. So I feel good. That game against Fabiano with the same structure with D5, D4 was a game that I won. Obviously Magnus is, not to start some kind of drama, but a little bit stronger than Fabiano, so he'll probably react a bit better. But the structure itself is very, very stable. So what it comes down to is whether Magnus is going to try to take my knight on d4 and get an isolated pawn, which is what Fabiano did against me in the candidates, or he's just going to try to be very stable and keep a symmetrical pawn structure. But it's reached a point where it's fairly dry. I think we're at a stage where probably the next 4 to 5 moves are going to determine if we're both very solid and accurate. It's probably going to be a draw. If not, it'll get exciting. So my game is not particularly the most relevant to this round. Since I usually talk about the other games, the game between Arjun and Gukesh is very interesting. One thing is, Gukesh has been maligned perhaps recently. People talking about how he might be the weakest world champion, this, that, yada, yada, yada. And it seems as though he's not well prepared for this line that Arjun played. He's already down an hour on the clock very early on. After the loss yesterday, he's definitely feeling some nerves or lack of confidence. And so I'm very worried about his position for a second day in a row, because if he gets low on time with a no increment before move 40, he's just going to get blown away. So very concerned for Gukesh. Fabiano's game is some kind of Rossalimo. Looks pretty normal. Sort of Rossalimo, Sicilian Frenchish kind of pawn structure a little bit. So that game has a lot of play and life to it. Both those games are likely going to be more interesting than mine. But as I said, the next couple of moves will determine what happens in mine. So I'm just going to go see what happens. And maybe I'll be back. If the game gets interesting, I'll definitely be back. If the game gets boring, which I suspect it will, then probably I won't be back before Armageddon. But either way, there's still a lot of life left to the day. So I'll see everybody later.